Okay, so at number 8,
I've got all these names right in front of me, so I'm like semi prepared for this now.
at number 8, I'm gonna go. I think I'll go Dan Quinn. That'd probably be
Yeah.
like
I was
both
thinking
of
the same
ours.
thing.
Just because the same reasons you said, they go from a defensive coach to a defensive head coach,
Yeah.
and like you said, like I think Dan Quinn's a better coach than Ron Rivera is, but I think you're just putting yourself back in the same situation you were just in.
Yeah.
I'm not like super uber impressed by Dan Quinn, especially the way the Cowboys defense was very like
I think he was
off and
I
on.
think he was carried by like a lot of the talent that was there.
Yeah, definitely. So I don't love that one.
Yeah.
Now number 7, for my number 7, and this might honestly kind of not shock, but kind of surprise some people. I don't love it. Raheem Morris to the Falcons.
That's interesting because I actually kind of like that hire.
I don't love it, especially because he's had, if I remember right, he was a head coach for them before, right?
He was the
He was the interim,
yeah.
and
We kind of talked about it when he got hired a couple weeks ago. He was like the head coach of the Tampa Bay Bucks when they had like Josh Freeman and
like a long ass
yeah,
time
like
ago.
forever ago. He was like in his early 30s when he did that.
So he's definitely got a lot of head coaching experience,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I just wasn't like, if you told me that the Rams defensive coordinator got promoted, I wouldn't have necessarily for instance, I would say Bobby Slowick is more deserving of getting promoted than Raheem Morris, just because I wasn't super impressed by the Rams defense last year, and I think that if you're the Falcons, you have an opportunity to land like a Bill Belichick or a Mike Vrabel, and I just think those guys would have been better options than this feels like and I'm not trying to disrespect anyone. This just kind of feels like a settle hire almost. You know what I mean? But they didn't have to settle because they were one of the first hires that there was a lot of candidates still. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's funny that you say that. Like like the Rams, like you kind of talk about how like the Rams defensive coordinator got this job. I don't know, like because I was impressed by Raheem Morris and what he was able to do. Because I mean, you look, like I said, I feel like I've like repeated this a lot of times on the show when we talk about the Rams when we do our recaps. But I mean, like if you look at that Rams defense, I mean, they're like at the beginning of the year there wasn't really a lot of talent on that team. It was basically just Aaron Donald and a bunch of dudes out there. And the fact that he was able to make that like a competent defense was really impressive. And I mean, it was still a really good defense. I mean, they lost Jalen Ramsey, and I thought he did a good job, and I thought he's pretty deserving of this Falcons job. And
I respect that.
yeah, I think it's a solid hire. I think because I mean, it's like, and he's been there before, so he kind of like knows what's going on. Obviously, that was a couple of years ago, but I mean, I think he'll fit in really well here. And I mean, it'll be interesting to see. Oh, actually, I think he did bring in his coordinators. I just don't remember who they were. I think he brought in like
his coordinator.
Like I know he brought in like an offensive coordinator. It was someone from the Rams, obviously. Oh wait, no, I think
it was their QB coach. No,
it might have been. I think I might be thinking of defensive coordinator now that I think about it. But I know he brought in his coordinators, both from the Rams, I think. So basically, just poaching from Sean McVay's coaching staff. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a solid hire. I wouldn't have him as my number 7. Or is that where you had him? Or you have him as, oh yeah, because we had
second to last.
Yeah.
So who's your 7?
My 7.
I mean, honestly, I hope he proves me wrong. I'm not trying to like bash on him. I'm just giving my opinion here. But I think I hope he proves me wrong, because seeing like a competent Falcons team next year would be a lot of fun, because they have a lot of like exciting players.
Yeah. So, it was actually funny. He was an interview. He was interviewed. I think it was either yesterday or Sunday. And he was basically talking about like, what are some of the guys that you're looking forward to like using on this team on offense? And like he was like, oh yeah, Drake London and Bijan Robinson.
Perfect.
And it's like, yeah,
you already have a new fan in me.
Yeah. It's like, but wait a minute, why did you say Kyle Pitts? Please, man.
Kyle Pitts.
Bro, please,
that's true.
Please get my guy out of purgatory.
That's true.
Please,
no one likes Kyle Pitts,
please.
apparently.
But yeah, for my number 7,
okay,
I don't know, honestly. Like,
it's like Dan Quinn, and then
yeah, it's like it's hard. It's difficult to like rank these guys. I would say, I don't know if this is a bad one. I want to say Antonio Pierce.
No, I get that.
And it's not because I don't think he's a good coach. I just honestly, a lot of these coaches, I really just don't know too much about them. Like Pierce and Gerard Mayo, I don't know like a
What they'll
ton about
do.
them. Yeah, like because Antonio Pierce, like I don't really see him as like a guy who's like scheming up a lot of like plays and stuff and whatnot. Like I just kind of see him as more like a
He's a
culture guy.
culture
Yeah, he's
hire.
a culture
Yeah.
guy. So I mean, you basically saw like Max Crosby. You're like, yo, if you all don't bring him in as the coach, trade me. And they
Yeah,
were like,
exactly.
all right, cool. So they brought him in as the coach. And
Props to Max Crosby for doing that though.
yeah, I mean that's a really supportive player. I mean, supporting your coach, that's awesome. And I mean, to be fair though, they were pretty solid down the stretch. Like they weren't good, but I mean, they looked okay. They looked better than when they had Josh McDaniels,
They made
obviously.
a really questionable hire for their coordinators. I can't remember. Um,
No, I think they brought in like a GM.
their defensive court. Well, they brought in the Chargers GM,
Yeah, like the chart.
who
Yeah,
just got fired because he
yeah,
didn't do anything, or he just fucked their roster for like the past 10
yeah.
years, and put him in like the most negative cap ever. But no, it was their coordinators they hired, like their defensive coordinator. I
Yeah.
was like, what? Hold on, let me look. Raiders, because they fired both their coordinators, didn't they?
Yeah, probably. I'd really, I don't remember to be honest with you.
The offensive coordinator for the oh yeah, they hired the Bears offensive coordinator.
Oh yeah, it was Getsy, right? Luke Getsy.
That just makes no fucking like
Yeah.
that
Okay.
was head scratching. And then
Yeah, that was interesting. But yeah, I would put him at number 7 just because I don't know, like kind of gives me like just that vibe of like just being more mostly like a vibes guy, like a culture type guy.
oh,
Um,
I'm sorry, they never got rid of their defensive coordinator. He's Patrick Graham's still there. It was just the
okay,
offensive coordinator. I was like, what?
okay, yeah. Um,
I mean, they had another candidate in mind. Let's just say
oh
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, he was like kind of there, but
Yeah,
not. I guess not
for
really.
like 10 minutes, he pulled a Bill Belichick.
Yeah,
So with my number 6, I'm actually gonna go with Antonio Pierce as well because the reason being is not necessarily because of Antonio Pierce himself, but because um, what am I trying to say? Oh, because like you said, Antonio Pierce is not like a Kyle Shanahan. He's not gonna go out there and fucking draw up some crazy schemes
yeah.
and do the math, and he's not that guy. He's gonna
You're not that guy, pal.
he's gonna go out there and have a great culture and know how to. He's gonna be like a leader. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And a guy that all his whole team respects. So I think in that case, that's good to have as a head coach. But if you're gonna have that as a head coach, you need to have kick-ass coordinators who can scheme
yeah.
and can and you bring in a guy who has probably had the most inconsistent fucking offense I've ever seen the past 2 years. Mix that with a quarterback who's not mobile at all.
Well, I mean, yeah. Obviously, they have a big question at quarterback.
Um, and I just don't see that. So I think that the coordinator hires for the at least especially like the Luke Getsy, I think that's how you say his name, Luke
Yeah,
Getsy. I think that hire really brings Pierce down for me because that's going to be the guy who he's going to have to rely on to get this offense moving.
yeah,
So with my number 6, I'm going Antonio Pierce.
yeah.
Who's your number 6?
For my number 6, it's kind of a toss up between. For me, it's between either Gerard Mayo or Brian Callahan. And I think I'm gonna go Brian Callahan just because I don't know. He kind of gives off like that vibe that he's just like not like suitable as a head coach. I don't know why. That's just like the gut feeling I
Damn.
get. Like I mean, like I don't know, like because I mean, there's a lot of guys that are just like better as a coordinator than they are as a head
Yeah, I get
coach.
that.
And I don't know, he just seems like one of those guys. And I mean, you're going with working with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T Higgins, Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, all those guys to working with like Will Levis, DeAndre Hopkins, and whoever the fuck the wide receiver 2 is over there. Oh, probably Traylon Burks. And I mean, you might get to work with Derrick Henry. Who knows? Um, so I don't know. I'm just not super like sold on this hire as kind of like really out of left field. I really thought they were going to go with like Bobby Slowick or like I guess just Bobby Slowick really. So I guess this is
That
me
would have
just
been a
kind of
good hire
yeah.
for the Titans. Take a division.
Yeah, but I mean that's really just I don't know.
Yeah, I get that.
I'm not super sold on it.
I get that. So now we're moving on to so those were our bottom three. Now we're moving on to our number five. My number five is I'm gonna go with Gerard Mayo from the Patriots.
Yeah. Who'd you say was your 6?
My six was Antonio Pierce.
Oh yeah.
So I
Yeah.
have Quinn, Raheem Morris, and
okay.
Pierce now so far.
Okay.
So number five, I'm going with Gerard Mayo from the Patriots. And honestly, just like you said, I know nothing about him. This is kind of like a safe spot for me because I don't think he'll be the worst hire because like I think his floor is like probably the middle of the pack of these
Yeah.
coaches. But his ceiling could be a lot higher. But I think that I just don't know enough about him because what he's going to do is he's going to change the culture. The Patriots haven't had a new head coach in like over 20 years.
Yeah, like a quarter of a
Like
century basically.
before I've been alive. We've
Yeah.
both been alive. So this will definitely bring like a different team, a different atmosphere to the team. And that could either be really good or it could be bad. I'm leaning towards good. I think it'll be perfect for them. But I just don't know if he's to me, it's almost like he's in like the same boat as Antonio Pierce,
Yeah.
where he's more of like a culture hire than a, what do you want to call it?
Like more like a guy who's like scheming up plays and all.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Like he's
Yeah.
in the same boat as a Pierce, where he's gonna need like good coordinators. He's gonna need good people by his side.
Like
who know
he's
how
more
to,
of like a I don't know if this is like the right term for it, but he's kind of like a CEO type coach. Where like
yeah.
like he's not like running everything, but he's kind of just like
He's like making sure the vibes are good.
yeah.
So I think that I think it's a good hire for sure. I mean, I feel like they should have taken their time at least to interview some candidates. It kind of seemed like they were just set on their guy, and
Yeah, no,
They just
they
fucking-
kind of did rush it.
but
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, he was my he'll be my number 5. Was it my number 5? Yeah, I think he'd be my
Yeah,
number 5
'cause
as well.
Callahan was your 6.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, I do kind of like this hire just because he's been a part of the Patriots, like what it seems like for forever. So
Yeah, he definitely knows the team and the players.
yeah,
and
so
everything.
like I don't know, like if it's gonna be like a huge like I don't know if they're gonna go in like a huge different direction to what like Belichick was doing. But I do, yeah, no, I like him as like a culture hire, and I think he's gonna be a guy that just kind of brings the team together a lot more. And I think it'll be interesting to see how their offseason looks because I mean. I don't know. There's like, I mean, I hope to God this doesn't happen, but I mean, there's hopes they might like go for like Marvin Harrison Jr. and stuff like that. Personally for them, I think quarterback would be the move, but
yeah, if you're hearing this, Patriots quarterback.
yeah. Hey, Gerard, please do me a big favor and don't take Marvin Harrison Jr. at 3. Thank you.
But seriously though, yeah, Mac Jones is. I don't know. They need to figure that out first. I feel
Yeah, it's a really odd spot to be in because their skill position players are pretty bad too.
like their whole offense is horrible.
Yeah, it's just like it's Ramondre and then like nobody else. But yeah, yeah, I think because I mean he's kind of more like a defensive minded coach. I mean played linebacker for the Patriots. He was their inside linebackers coach for the last 4 or 5 years. So yeah, I think. I just think it's like it's a really it was really like a safety net type of hire is what I kind of get from it. And I mean that's not a bad thing at all. You're kind of going with like a guy that obviously. And I mean I don't really see the problem with that at all.
So that was your 5, right? I think we both had the same 5 then.
Yeah, we had the same 5. We both had Gerard. Yeah.
Okay, so moving on, number 4, I have Brian Callahan now.
Okay.
I kind of like it, honestly, kind of switching it up because I feel like Mike Vrabel is a very conservative, like safe type of coach where he just ran the ball, and which is good. But I feel like Callahan might kind of bring a little bit of that Bengals offense kind of approach to the Titans, which is what they've been needing for a long time. So I feel like if you're firing Vrabel because you need like a switch up in terms of the pace of play your team plays at and how your team looks. I feel like Callahan was a good hire for that. And then also he brought over his QB coach from the Bengals to be his offensive coordinator, which I really like as well.
Yeah,
like bringing your guys in.
I didn't see that, but okay, that's
because
a good hire.
Yeah. He brought over his the Bengals QB coach to be his offensive coordinator, which is I think a good hire because obviously Joe Burrow has been a fantastic quarterback, but then obviously what he did with Jake Browning last year, he was one of the best probably backup
Yeah.
quarterbacks, if not the best, like consistently because you had a lot of backup quarterbacks last year that just like had 2 to 3 games where they like had an insanity run and then just fell off the face of the earth. And I feel like
Hey, Josh
Browning,
Dobbs, how you doing?
yeah, holy shit. But I feel like Browning was one of those that just like was consistently like solid. And so yeah, I like that hire. So he's number 4 for me. I definitely think there are better hires than that, but I think that I liked it for the Titans.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, you make a lot of good points. Honestly, I just really didn't know too much about Callahan. That's why I
Yeah,
have him
that's the
so
only
low.
thing.
But I think for my number 4, um, I'm gonna go with Dave Canales for the
Okay.
Panthers. Um, just because I mean, it's a really intriguing hire. I mean, you saw how he worked with Baker Mayfield last year, and then Geno Smith the year before. Um, I mean, he turned those guys, basically kind of like revived both of their careers a little bit. And so it'll be really interesting to see how he does with the quarterback with the talent of Bryce Young. Um, and it can, I mean, he
Yeah.
was number 1 overall pick, obviously won a Heisman. Really talented quarterback. I just really think you need to get him some weapons, Carolina.
Holy shit, yeah. I
Um,
think receiver needs to be the number one uh
yeah, I mean,
thing for them in the second round because they don't have a
yeah, I
first
mean,
round pick.
yeah, I mean, if we were doing like 2-round mock drafts, I think we would all like mock like receiver, receiver, receiver,
Or
receiver.
offensive line, honestly. Their offensive line is atrocious as well. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what's
I
up
don't
with
even know where
that.
you start with this team.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm interested to see like just how he works with Bryce Young, obviously. And I mean, I think he'll be a solid head coach as long as like David Tepper kind of keeps his hands away from the team. Because I mean, just like I don't know, that shit's really annoying.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit.
Yeah. Also, the Panthers brought in a new GM. They went with like an in-house hire. I forgot who his name was, but I mean, I don't know. Seems like it might be a solid hire. But yeah, no, I'm a fan of the Canales hire. Because like I said, his work with the quarterbacks for the last 2 years really intrigues me, and so I'm honestly excited to see how he works with Bryce Young, especially if they get him like at least a weapon out there.
A
So
weapon, yeah.
yeah, just something besides 80-year-old Adam Thielen. So yeah, that's gonna be my number 4.
Yeah, I agree with you. So my number 3, and this might kind of surprise you a little bit, but my number 3 is going to go to John Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh, to the Chargers. That's going to be my number 3.
Okay.
And the reason being is I really like it, of course, because this is going to be the best quarterback Harbaugh has coached. And I think he's got a talented roster, but I just feel like the situation he's walking in isn't ideal. First of all, I feel like whenever we see these really big, flashy coach hires, half the time it doesn't work out. And
Yeah.
I feel like it gets a lot of publicity, and then it's just kind of like mediocre. That's just kind of the feeling I get. I think Jim Harbaugh will do good as the Chargers head coach,
Yeah.
but I just feel like the situation he's walking in isn't ideal. I mean, the Chargers have like one of the worst cap situations in the entire NFL. So there's like not much you can do about that as a head coach unless you're running the roster. So I just feel like the situation he's walking in isn't like as amazing as people think, but I still really like him and Herbert together. And obviously he used to play for the Chargers, so he's kind of a culture guy as well. But for some of those reasons and just it's just like a incline I get, you know what I mean? Or what, I don't know if that's the right word for that, but the feeling I get.
Yeah.
I feel
No,
like
like
I'm putting him at 3.
kind of like how I feel with like Callahan.
Yeah.
I kind of get that. Um, I mean, I'm definitely spoiler. I have Harbaugh as my number 1, but I'll get into
Okay.
that. But yeah, so for my number 3, this is where I'm gonna have Raheem Morris.
Okay.
Just because I think, I mean, moving away from the disaster that was like the last 3 years, with an offensive minded head coach. I don't know. I like this kind of change of direction. You're going back to somebody that that's been there before, and I think he's going to be a really good fit. And I don't know. It's interesting to see how he works with the defense because I mean, I would say, I mean, I know the offense was bad, obviously, but I mean, you had Ritter at quarterback. So I mean, it can only get better from there.
Yeah.
And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he works with like a lot of guys on the defense, like AJ Terrell, Jesse Bates, and obviously, I think he'll definitely be looking to draft an edge rusher in the draft for their number 8 pick if they decide to keep it. I don't know, they might trade it or something. Um, but yeah, I just like this hire because it's a well established defensive guy. He's had head coaching experience, and he's worked with a lot of players. Even I mean, Jalen Ramsey said like he's like the best, going to be like the best coach in the league, and I mean, getting that seal of approval from one of the best players in the league like that definitely does a lot for you. And so I don't know, I'm very intrigued by it, and I think it'll be a good hire. I think it'll be a good long term hire for the Falcons.
So my top two are both long term hires that I think will very much pay off. My number two, I don't know why. I just really like this hire. Dave Canales
Okay.
to the Panthers. He's a young head coach. And what he did with the Buccaneers last year, I just think was fantastic. He took
I mean, their offense improved and they lost Tom Brady.
yeah,
Like,
it's
like
like how the
long
fuck do you
story
do
short,
that? How do you do that? And you make Baker Mayfield play better, almost better than Tom Brady did last year.
their numbers are basically like they're damn near the same.
They damn near the
It's
same,
really
and Baker's like
crazy.
a little bit better,
Yeah.
which is just crazy to me. So I think that when you take that and you take a guy who can turn a situation that you think is going to be a lot worse and make it better, and you put him on the Panthers, who probably have the worst situation in the entire fucking league.
Yeah. Good lord.
I think that that's a good hire. I think that's probably one of the better hires you could make if you want a guy who's going to stick with the team for a long time, who's going to stick with the young players for a long time and create a culture in Carolina. I think Canales is your guy. So I really like that hire. The only thing that what's the word? Just sets me back about this, that concerns me about this. It's 2 words. David Tepper.
Yeah.
You're working for the worst owner in the entire league, and it's not even close. So I think that that's the only thing that could set him back, and it's not even something that he can control. So I kind of feel for him, but I feel like he'll overcome it. I think he'll be a good head coach. And if he doesn't, then he doesn't. But I really like the direction that the Panthers are going here.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So we're kind of in this. We're kind of in the same. We have the same opinion about Canales. There's some other head coaches here that I just value a little bit more. So, yeah, I mean,
I think I know who your top 2 is.
yeah. So for my number 2, I'm gonna go with Mike McDonald, and I mean, I think this is a great hire for the Seahawks. I mean, obviously the best Seahawks teams are known for just elite defense, and I mean, you're getting a defensive coordinator who,
Fantastic.
I mean, you saw what he did last year. I mean, Jesus Christ, like that Ravens defense was insane. And I think, I mean, he'll be able to work with guys like Tariq Woolen and Devin Witherspoon on the secondary there. And I'm really excited to see what this team can do. I mean, I know Bobby Wagner isn't as good as he was, and I know obviously he's not as good as Roquan Smith is, but I mean, you're still having that kind of like that elite inside linebacker. I mean, maybe he can just, I mean, make Bobby Wagner a little bit better in the twilight of his career. But I really do, I do like this hire a lot because I mean, you just look at what Mike McDonald was able to do with the talent that the Ravens had, and I mean, really, I mean, you kind of just remember that Chiefs game and just how basically like dominant their defense was for that entire second half. And I mean, you got to be feeling really good if you're the Seahawks with this hire because I think this will work out really well. Obviously, like you said, one of the youngest head coach in the league.
He is, yeah.
So I mean, yeah, obviously, I mean, if all goes well, he'll stick around there for a really long time. So, I mean, you're setting yourself up for success really well here for the Seahawks. So, yeah, I like it a lot.
I like it too, and that's my number 1. So my number 1 is Mike McDonald. It really hurts me to see him go, but I'm honestly kind of happy he went to the Seahawks. kind of a secondhand Seahawks fan. You know that just literally because of
Zach Charbonnet.
Zach Charbonnet. So I really like the hire, and I think this team went out and drafted two really good running backs 2 years in a row, and so they're going to probably be a running team, and I feel like that'll work well with the way Mike Macdonald coaches, because he's been a defensive coach for so long. He's obviously not going to have the best offensive mind, and I feel like they're not going to, like I said earlier, they're not going to be like Kyle Shanahan out there freaking drawing up these formations and plays that
Yeah.
open up the passing game. I think they're going to be a running, bruising team, and they have good running backs for it. And I think if you draft some offensive linemen, then I think this team will go places. It's like they're not even really rebuilding. They're kind of like in a weird
they're kind of like a retool, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, I really just think they need to kind of like sort out their quarterback situation, and then they'll be fine.
yeah. I think Geno Smith was a cool story for the past 2 years, but I think it might be time to move on.
I mean, I don't know if you're gonna go with like Drew Lock or I don't know what you're gonna do there.
No, I don't.
It's just it's a weird situation to be in.
But we'll finish off with your number one.
Yeah, so my number one is gonna be Jim Harbaugh for the Los Angeles Chargers. I mean, I really do think that this is the exact type of change that they needed going from Brandon Staley to Jim Harbaugh. I mean, he's a player's coach. You saw that when he was coaching at Stanford before he joined the 49ers and when he coached in Michigan.
He's kind of like the best of both worlds with all these coaching hires. He's not only like a player's culture coach, but he's also like a good schemer and play caller.
Really, you look at this situation you look at the hire. It's like, what's not to like? You have a guy who's, he works well with players, obviously. So, that's how you have success in college. And he's had success in the NFL. Right. Literally his first year in the NFL, he won 13 games with the 49ers, and they had like a 7-game improvement from last year. That's insane. And I don't know if they're going to have that big of an improvement with the Chargers, but they have
I
to
think
be
they'll
better.
make the playoffs.
It'll be interesting to see.
It's like a 7 seed.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I think that this is just, I think it's a really good hire because, like I said, you have a well-established head coach in the NFL already, and he works well with the players.
I think the Chargers are going to be like one of those teams next year that is going to be like one of the hardest teams to justify their record,
like to predict, basically.
Yeah, like their over/under is going to be like impossible because they could either go like 4-13 or like they could like their ceiling's so high, but their floor is also so high.
Yeah, like I could see them winning like 12 games. Or I could see them winning like 6 games.
Yeah,
yeah.
So those will be
yeah. The only iffy thing that I'm worried about is we did see the Chargers hire Greg Roman. But to be fair,
as a Ravens fan, good fucking luck, dude.
To be fair though, he was not hired as their offensive coordinator. I think he'll probably just help with the run game. And I think
Who's the offensive coordinator?
I don't know. But
I thought he was.
When I sent you guys that tweet, it did not say that he was going to be their offensive coordinator. So, if you're a Chargers fan, you gotta be saying thank God, because you do not want Justin Herbert out there running read option after read option. This dude is not Colin Kaepernick, so don't do that. But yeah, honestly, it was a really predictable thing that he was going to bring him in because Greg Roman was their OC back in San Francisco. So it's really funny. Yeah, I didn't know he's worked with the Harbaughs for so long. I
didn't know that either.
Yeah,
he got hired.
Yeah, I looked that up.
That's probably why he lasted so long on the Ravens.
Yeah,
because
he kind of gradually made his way through the Ravens coaching tree. He didn't just start off with the OC.
No, but I remember when he was OC.
Yeah,
3 years in a row, we were all chanting "Fire Roman, fire," and it never fucking happened. And it was probably because he's got he's buddy with Harbaugh, and it's kind of hard to tell your friend you kind of suck.
Yeah, but so good to not bring him as the OC. Because I just don't think that would work. But if you're bringing him as kind of to coordinate the run game, I think that's a really good hire.